Hello, welcome to the Free Field Podcast, the podcast where three friends who had their dreams being professional footballers dashed away as children when they all discovered food, have their say on the Premier League. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be an interesting one. Interesting, the topics to discuss, of course, but we'll get into that. We'll do the intros first. You have a present, Coach Kojo. How you doing, sir?
Oh, all good, man. Can't complain. How you doing?
I ain't gonna lie, I'm not feeling too good. I think one of the guests knows why as well from yesterday, but it is what it is. And that guest is Hussein. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Arsenal aren't our rivals, so I was gonna come for you, but you came for Liverpool Football Club, So shouldn't have done that.
I shouldn't have done that. I've learnt my lesson from yesterday, so I'll try my best not to upset you. I won't make any promises, but I'll try my best. And
smart promise.
Luke joins us as well. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, pleasure to be on. Looking forward to it.
Let's get into it. Obviously, the title of the show is we're talking about Harry Kane. So let's get into that one. I think it's 2 days in a row that he hasn't showed up for training. Coach, what do you make of this whole situation? Is it a bit messy? And should it be this messy?
It is very messy. It shouldn't be this messy. I think, firstly, Daniel Levy, if there was a discussion last year that people are saying that there was a discussion and they had this sort of agreement that he'll be able to get a move this summer, I think, firstly, the one thing you got to do is negotiate with the club that he would potentially go to, as to let them know the fee, what it is, let him aware that you've told them this is what it is going to be. And if they bid it, you go. If they don't, it's what it is. Sort of like, Man United held back Ronaldo for an extra year before going to Real Madrid. They rejected 120 million, but then it was told if they bid it anywhere upwards of 80 million next year, you go. They bid 80 million, they got their man job done. So I think that's where Daniel Levy messed up, but that's why Daniel Levy is the most difficult person to negotiate with, because he'll never give that power away. He's never going to tell you that if they come and bid 100 million, you're going. He's going to say, if they bid what I agree to, then you're going to go. So that's why Harry Kane, I feel like, has now said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take action into my own hands, because he's seen as the consummate professional. He's seen as the man that will never step out of line. He's still going to work hard and go to training, and he will hope that they get a move for him rather than pushing the agenda. I think at this point, he's just said, you know what? I'm in the prime years of my career. I look at a lot of players in the past that have been in a similar situation to me, and very few have gone out of that situation to move and go on to better things and have that guarantee of winning trophies. He looks at City, and maybe if there are other options on the table, as a more viable option to go and compete for trophies. So, and if Spurs are not doing that, and he doesn't believe Spurs are doing that, despite the fact that they've now got Romero coming in and maybe a few others, then he's got to get his move. So I don't particularly agree with not turning up to training, but at the same time, I can understand and get why he's doing it, considering the person now he has to deal with in Spurs that's going to decide whether or not he gets his move.
There seems to be a bit of the Tottenham fans. They've seemed to have turned on the whole situation. They've turned on Harry Kane. Obviously, he was the whole build up. He was one of their own, the consummate professional argument as well. But now he's forcing his move away. Do you understand where the Spurs fans are coming from with this massive switch of I don't know, kind of attacking him now, attacking his character?
This happened to us as well when we sold Suarez and Sterling. Like, it's normal. I feel that the Spurs fans' reactions are 100% normal. Obviously, they do love him as a player, and they do want him to stay. So I 100% do understand what they're going through, because I've been through it quite a few times as well. So I know what it feels like. But at the end of the day, Spurs have failed him to an extent. I think obviously when he renewed his contract, he would have had promises to at least build a team to compete or do something with it. And we've seen so far nothing serious has actually happened for Spurs this entire transfer window. Like Christian Romero, and I think they signed Gil from Sevilla or something like that. Mm-hmm. But that's about it. And none of us over here are going like, ooh, Tottenham signed Gil and Romero. Like, no one's bothered at all. And I think if Spurs didn't even like take advantage of their strong window when they were meant to push on and win things, aka like before the Champions League final, maybe the Leicester Premier League title winning season, they had a few opportunities to compete and they really didn't. Like during that window, if they had strengthened, maybe helped Pochettino out with 2 or 3 signings, they probably would have done something, but they haven't done something so far. And Kane is currently, I think, 28 or 29, and to this very second, he's yet to win a trophy. So when you look at it from his perspective, he can't end his career on nothing. Like Gerrard, for example, didn't win the Premier League at Liverpool, but won everything else basically. So this is where like the difference lies between a few players. And if Harry Kane decides to retire at Tottenham, obviously he will be, like, I think if he stays there, probably the record holder for goals. But at the end of the day, when he's going to sit back and just be on holiday somewhere after he retires, he's gonna look back and go like, man, I wish I made that big move, because he's going to be trophyless. We all, I think we all agree for the next 2-3 years we don't really see Spurs winning anything unless like there's a serious manager employed and a serious 2-3 transfer windows. So he's fighting an uphill battle, and I understand 100% where he's coming from with the thing. Spurs fans maybe want him to be professional. They have the right to think that way, but I'm looking at it more from Kane's perspective, to be honest.
And let's talk about Kane's perspective. Obviously, the team that he seems to be most interested in is Manchester City. He's obviously I think it was before the Euros, he spoke about Kevin De Bruyne being a fantastic player and he wants to play with him, pretty much selling himself to a degree. But from Manchester City side, I don't think there's really been that much interest from, say, Pep per se, because obviously the talks are that it's Grealish that is Pep's number 1 target, and we'll get into him later as well. But if Kane was to go this season, do you think City is the most likely destination, Luke?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that position is there, isn't it? Aguero's left for Kane to come in. But I think City are in quite a good position with Kane doing this, in that if he's going to try and force the move, City can always sit back a bit and see how it plays out before firming up any offers or interest. I think there was rumours, wasn't there, about £100 million bid earlier in the window. So yeah, I feel like City's stance is we're not going to be held to ransom over it. We're going to see what happens, and maybe this is Kane's idea of, well, maybe they won't bid the money, so I do need to force something a little bit. But I think City is definitely the team out there that seems most likely for him to move to.
I mean, obviously, Harry Kane, he brings a certain amount of goals, certain amount of assists as well. He seems like the type of player that would work in a Pep system, but Pep just doesn't seem to like him. That's what I'm getting from the whole back. But if he was to come, what's the minimum expectancy from you as a City fan?
I think the expectation will be huge. The transfer fee will be, I think if he does come over at least 120 million, probably. I think you expect him at least 40 goals a season, all comps, probably.
Is it a Champions League thing as well?
Difficult one.
Say it.
You know what, you'd think so. If City sign Kane and Grealish and don't win the Champions League in the next sort of 2-3 seasons, you would say I think that's a bit of a failure, because they're almost the players to complete, I think, the squad, aren't they? Which probably the thing we didn't have this season was that fit striker that maybe would have got us over the line. Harry Kane certainly is good enough and would do that. So, but I think the expectation would be super high if Harry Kane joins.
Spurs, obviously, no trophies in. I'm saying that with a smile on my face as well. No trophies in the last since 2008. 2008. So
do we count the League Cup?
Really blame him. I mean, he's had a Champions League final which he was injured for. Then he had the League Cup final. Well, exactly. Then he had the League Cup final, which who they lose to? They lost to
City.
Oh, City. Oh, yeah, it was City, yeah?
It was it.
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah. So from his perspective, is it he's done everything that he possibly can for this team? But there was also the title run as well in, was it the finishing third in the 2-horse race? Big up Arsenal for that one. But that's the only time I'm going to big up Arsenal at all in this podcast. But yeah, as there's obviously the I think he'll get the top goal scorer overall of the Premier League or in England, but it's Tottenham's top goal scorer, which he is. Never mind, screw that. I've lost my question. I don't know why. Just take over, coach. I don't know why. What's happening?
I don't know. I think are you leading towards that? Does he deserve a move?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. My head's gone.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
I picked up Arsenal. That's why he threw me off.
You're still recovering from yesterday. It's right. It is what it is. Does he deserve a move? Look, I think for Spurs, I'll look at it like this. You have someone that's been a prominent goal scorer no matter the type of season that you had. Last season was not a great season, yet in the Premier League, he was the top goal scorer and the top assist record holder in terms of the season. So he had a phenomenal season by his own individual standards. He still did his thing. He still produced numbers. He's a striker. He did what he had to do, and he's added playmaking to his skill set as well. That's why he was able to get so many assists. So on an individual standpoint, he's done his own thing. But I don't think the frustration comes with, even though and Spurs fans will know as well that they have a lot of frustration with a lot of players that they've had. But I don't think that's what it comes down to. I think, just like we've said here before, just like Lucas said, I'm sure Hussam said this many times as well. He said it as well with not building on the after the Leicester season, and then after Chelsea won it, they finished second behind Chelsea. Another great season. If you're a player and you are sitting there saying, my team got, I think, for people that love numbers, I think it was 86 points. You finished second behind a fantastic Chelsea side, and you know that if you add maybe 2 or 3 extra players to that team, it improves you that much more. You as a player, you want that to happen. But if you're sitting there and you're saying, my manager's not getting backed, the owners keep doing this, there's always a cycle with Spurs where they have a glimmer of hope, and then the owner, whether it'll be Levy or back in the days, Alan Sugar, will slap it down and just say, you know what, we've reached your limit, is what it is. You're talking about a team from the years that had in one team, Bale, Modric, Van der Vaart, Adebayor, Crouch, Defoe, like people that were giving you good games, and then they had one window and then they lost Bale, and then Vlad Kirikes came through. Lamella did not do anything. Ericsson was a good signing, to be fair to him. But other than that, the rest of them did not succeed in any sort of way. So Dardo didn't work out. And then you rebuild again. Wanyama comes in, Dembele comes in, Dele Alli comes in, Harry Kane off. Finally, all his loans are done, and he's become the striker that you want him to become. You're building something, and then you get close, and you're maybe 2 signings from building the team. Dembele is injury, again, a lot of injuries. Wanyama couldn't play more than 15 games in that season at some point. Bolster the team. And you, as the diamond, you want that team around you being built. You want to say, now I know that we're really ambitious. And it's the ambition, it's the lack of ambition. As a player, you're going to feel that. If Daniel Levy is not backing the manager, if Enoch is not backing the manager to push the team on, as a player, at some point, you're going to sit there and say, well, if I keep doing what I can, scoring all these goals, and I'm coming away with nothing, what's the point? You know, when we used to talk about, not used to this day, people still talk about Ronaldo and Messi. When Ronaldo joined Real Madrid, for the first 3 years, the guy scored 30-something and then 40-something, and came away with 1 Copa del Rey. If he sat there and he said, you know what, I'm not winning anything with Gago, Drenta, and all these guys, who would begrudge him saying, I want to leave there? But they bolstered their squad. They got their team better, they got a strong midfield, and they went on to win so many things. Barcelona, at some point, lost their diamond sort of in the midfield 3. They lost their linchpins, 2 of them anyway. They started replacing Dani Alves with players that weren't good enough to play in his position, all of that. And at some point, he was fed up. He was looking to leave as well. They had to practically beg him to stay. But this is what it is. If you are the man in the team and you're looking around and the club is not doing enough to push the team forward despite what you do, at some point, enough is enough. For Kane, enough is enough. How much longer do you want to stay before he says, I'm out? He can't do that. So, again, I don't agree with training, but has he done enough to warrant a move at this point? Yeah, I think it would be stupid for us to say he doesn't deserve a move. He deserves a big move. He's a big player.
Big player, but you'll obviously demand a big fee as well. But to that, I mean, we said I said earlier that Man City, Pep doesn't seem to be that much interested in buying a Kane. Obviously, but the options that are there, which might piss off a few of the other fans. So, is Manchester United or is it Chelsea teams that would warrant getting a Kane, because you're almost guaranteed trophies at Manchester City. I mean, the Champions League victory came as a shock to us, I imagine all of us here, but they won it regardless, and they do look exciting. But you can't say that a Premier League, which is what Harry Kane wants, is oh my God, is once again I've been thrown. But you can't say that it's the Premier League. It's the Premier League. That's what Harry Kane wants. And does he win that at a Chelsea or a Manchester United per se? Let's go, you, Hussein.
Just on what Kojo said as well with Tottenham, I 100% understand, and I'm not saying he's doing this. Obviously, like comparing the Barcelona and Madrid situation, the problem is at Tottenham there's a mentality problem. So even like here's the thing, even if they did sign, it's not even a guaranteed thing for them. You know, as Kelly said, it's in the history. So the thing is with Tottenham, I feel like Tottenham and Liverpool were actually in similar trajectories. I feel like under Poch and under Klopp. With Klopp, he finally got to the two final missing pieces in Alisson and Van Dijk, which actually finally propelled us to being able to win the Champions League, win the Premier League. If Alisson and Van Dijk were not signed, or either of them, like if it was just Alisson or just Van Dijk, we wouldn't have won the Champions League or the Premier League. So Tottenham were in a similar position to us, but never really strengthened in the window, and I don't see them strengthening. That's what happened with Tottenham. He's had enough. He's had enough of that. Anyway, with the question, like with Chelsea and Man United, I think at Chelsea, he probably will go on. If Chelsea sign Kane, they win the league. Simple as. But the problem is Chelsea do not like to deal with. Spurs don't like to deal with Tottenham Hotspur. I'll take you back to a time we all remember when Modric wanted to go to Chelsea, and they waited an extra year and sold him to Madrid, even though they sold him for less money. So obviously, historically speaking, Tottenham do not like to do business with Chelsea. So that one is off the cards. United is an interesting one, but in my opinion, this is honestly no banter or nothing. I feel like a manager can win you or lose you up to 10 to 15 points a season, and I feel like Oli at this point in time, he is competing with Klopp, Pep and Tuchel, all three of them proven winners at a very high level. Tuchel, maybe there is obviously, like if we put Pep and Klopp in the A-star bracket, Tuchel is probably in the A+ bracket, like just a little bit below them. But when Oli is competing with these managers, the thing is, it's not necessarily him playing against them like 1v1. It's the other things. It's like what Ferguson did to Benitez, for example. It's the mind games. It's him, you know, when there's pressure on Man United building, him actually rising above that and keeping the mindset of the team, which I don't see Oli doing. So we all know when it comes to, you know, what they call it, like the pressure stages of winning the league title, I don't think Oli could push the team through that. That's why when I predicted, I didn't even put United in top 4, but that's a totally different discussion. But I feel like with the United thing, like they need someone who's been there, done that, and if they get Kane with someone who's been there, done that, they win the league as well. But obviously the question marks remain over Oli and Oli only. That's the only question mark with Man United. I think if for Kane specifically, for him as a player, the best move will be PSG. That's my opinion. I think PSG is 100% the best move. Already played knows Pochettino's system. PSG are doing an absolute madness in the transfer window. They're like, we're gonna win this Champions League by hook or by crook. So they're going all out. So I think Kane goes to PSG, guaranteed success at PSG.
I mean, they can't even win their equivalent of the community. Was it the Champions Cup or something like that? I don't know, but this Pochettino guy, he seems to choke at the big occasions. But you can take the manager out of Spurs, but you can't take Spurs out of the manager. That's what it seems like. But Harry Kane, we all said the ball is in his court right now. I don't know I don't know what's going on. Coach, take over a second.
All right.
Bro, did you eat lunch today? Did you eat? Like, what happened, bro? Is this all because of the Fly Emirates joke, Cahill? Like, what's happening right now? My guy,
it would
froze
be
like Tottenham under
hilarious.
pressure, man.
It would be hilarious if it was, but it's not. I don't know what's going on. I'll be back in a minute. Just give me a second.
No worries, bro. All right, so Luke, I'll ask you this then. So Harry Kane, if let's give the scenario that he does indeed join your club. Firstly, I mean, you know the position he'd play. It's quite obvious he plays as striker, the number 9 position, number 1 role. But would you expect a formation change? Would you expect a change of personnel around him? Because let's say, for example, towards the end of the season, Mahrez had one hell of a end of the season, started popping off, especially in the Champions League anyway. But Raheem Sterling, who's been so good, we didn't have the best of seasons, for example. But we're seeing for England, they do have a decent chemistry. Who would you put in that lineup behind him? Obviously, without saying Kevin De Bruyne, because Kevin De Bruyne starts no matter what.
Yeah, very difficult actually, especially if Grealish signs as well. But say just Kane obviously up front. I think he goes Mahrez. I think he goes Foden on the left. I think despite Sterling playing really well, I think the start of the season he might start ahead of Foden. Foden's actually injured at the moment, so I think that will help Raheem Sterling get back in on that left-hand side. Be interested when Foden is fit, whether he can dislodge him again this second season, or if Foden can probably play a little bit further back, which would probably be Bernardo Silva. I think is the one who there's been rumours of him leaving as well. And probably if Jack Grealish comes in, I imagine Bernardo Silva will leave at that point as well. So yeah, for me, it's the kind of the circumstance of Foden being injured probably helps keep everyone happy that's there. It means no one really misses out, to be honest, because I think Sterling's probably the one question marks. But he had a great Euros, didn't he? So
he did.
I think he's still Pep's guy. I think Pep still really does want him to sign a new contract, stay at City.
So if you want to sign Jack Grealish, then whose place in the club would be in the most jeopardy? Because I think Mahrez is now hitting 30, and that's not to say that Pep doesn't do well with all the players, because he had your PKs and Dani Alves, and he's going towards his later years anyway. So he can obviously work with players that are older. That's never been an issue. But Bernardo Silva hasn't hit the heights that he did in maybe his first season or so. Raheem Sterling last year wasn't in the best of form. Mahrez, if for me, has been very up and down in his form at City. He's never been consistent. Who is in the most danger of losing their place at the club and potentially being sold?
So for me, the two are Gabriel Jesus and Bernardo Silva. Yeah, I think Jesus has had his time. He's had four seasons now. Obviously, Aguero was there last season. Aguero injured a lot. Didn't really take that chance. Pep went with the false 9, even when he was fit, even in the Champions League final. I think that just shows where Jesus is at. I think it'd be brilliant for another team, but I just think it's City that has probably run its course now. Especially if they go and sign Kane, that's the next 3-4 years. That's Jesus done for me. It's pretty same for Bernardo. I think is more of a one. He wants a new challenge. Wants to leave. I think he wanted to leave at the start of last summer. Maybe a bit like the sort of Ronaldo situation. Pep said he wanted another year from him, and then let him go. I think his sale may depend on if Grealish comes in. Mahrez is an interesting one, because at the start of last season, I would have agreed with you completely and said that he was the one in danger, and actually probably I'd be quite happy if a decent offer came in to let him go. But based on his form at the end of the season, more than happy for him to stay. I think he's made that right side his own. And gives us something a little bit different with his sort of trickery, rather than perhaps not as big a in the box goal threat running onto balls like Sterling and Foden are. But yeah, I really like Mahrez, and I'd like to see the Mahrez Kane link up, actually see how that works.
That would be quite interesting. Final question from me before Kel takes over again. I'll ask Sam the same thing as well, actually. What fee would be the maximum you'd be satisfied with for paying for Harry Kane? $120. Maximum, nothing more than that.
No, I think it's silly money. It's a mad situation because it's ridiculous money anyway. And it's not my money, so to be honest,
True.
But yeah, I think for his worth, for his sort of value, I think anything over sort of 120, 125 is probably going beyond what his value is. Certainly for the age he's at. I don't know if we'll get him for that, but it's going to be a big outlay, isn't it, this summer for City if we get Grealish and Kane? So
absolutely.
Why not? Why not just go for it? Just go and get him.
Why not? Why not? Hassan, I'm asking you because yesterday you absolutely trashed Roberto Firmino. So if Liverpool were in the race and they said, we've got the funds to get Harry Kane, how much would you be satisfied with paying if you were the guy facilitating the transfer, I should say?
I think I've said this yesterday as well. Kane is, in my opinion, the best striker in world football. So I would pay 110 million for him, I think. And I think he even would suit our system. That's a transfer that would never happen because of the age and how FSG do business. But if I was in charge, that's what I'd pay. You know, just on Bernardo Silva, there's something very interesting. Ever since he didn't clap for Liverpool, his career has just gone downhill. Or you see with Bernardo Silva, if he just stood and clapped like every single normal player in history, because it's just a guard of honor. It's not that deep. Bernardo's like sitting like that. If he just clapped, like, I think his career would have progressed normally. But Bernardo is just one season wonder, hands down most punchable face in the Premier League out of all players. So I'm glad he's out of this league, man. I can't stand his face, so I'm happy to see him go out of the league.
I think his 3 Premier League titles will probably say different to one season wonder, but
how many Champions League?
Yeah. Oh, mad.
Oh no! I thought that was coming at something.
What is this?
Put your Champions League on the table, my guy. Put that on the table.
What's the weight of Premier Leagues to Champions Leagues? Is it?
Champions League is definitely the more prestigious trophy. 100%.
It might be 3-1. It might be 3-1. But
3-1? No. 1.5.
Champions League. If you tell your owners what do they want more, they're gonna say Champions League.
I think Luke. I think if you had won that final, your feeling would have been so. It's a different.
You've just never experienced.
I've never felt it. I've never felt it. I don't know what it feels like, so I can't.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you're not alone in that. Someone else in this podcast hasn't felt it either.
Big man, see. So I went off that. You remain rattled, bro. What are you talking about? I'm just gonna shut the video. I'm gonna turn off the podcast. That's what I'm gonna do.
If only Henry had scored that opportunity, man. If only
he had plenty of opportunities. He's still amazing. He's still the greatest striker ever. So it is what it is. Jack Grealish is. I think that Luke, to be honest, I think that's who your main target is to be. As not just City, as you personally, because you seem to be bigging him up quite a bit. And to be fair, he's a very good player. There's a few stats that have got me quite interested and intrigued. It's comparing him and KDB, obviously. So he said that from last season, 26 games played each, 6 goals each. Grealish has 10 assists. KDB has 12. Chances created 81 for Grealish and 80 for KDB. 196 passes complete. That doesn't really matter or anything. But is it a case of Pep's thinking for the future? It's kind of weird to say considering he's 25, but KDB is, I think he's about 30 now, so he is getting past it. He doesn't seem to be slowing down, but maybe Pep is thinking about him slowing down.
Yeah, he's had a few injuries as well. I think it seems that each season KDB has a little period where he is injured, and for sort of a quite extended period as well, a few weeks of the season. So I think him coming in will aid that. I think Grealish, because he's versatile, isn't he? That's what Pep loves, players who can play all over. Can play from the left, where he mainly does for Villa, can play central. I think Pep can mould him into an unbelievable player. He's got all the sort of attributes Pep loves. And he's exciting. He's an exciting player, and that's probably the thing that I'm most interested in, is just that he's an exciting player, what he can bring. And him playing with De Bruyne, I think, would just be phenomenal. You saw the stats there, so similar. KDB won Player of the Year with very similar stats to Grealish. So, yeah, it'll be. I think for me, if I could have Grealish or Kane, Grealish is the one I want to go for because he's just super, super exciting player.
Well, wasn't expecting you to say that. I'd take Kane. I'm an Arsenal fan, but it is what it is. You said before that he can play centre mid, he can play left wing, but he's more of a left midfield, left wing. So is it concerning for Sterling, considering that's his position, and two, the falling out with Pep, which happened last season? They say that they've kissed and made up, but I don't think they have, to be honest. I think there's still a bit of bad blood between the two. So is it? I feel like you want Bernardo Silva gone, you want like Amara's gone, but it might be Raheem Sterling. Are you accepting losing him as a part of the deal with getting Jack Grealish?
I don't know if Sterling's an interesting one. I think he's still Pep's boy. I think he's been one of the sort of shining lights, hasn't he, of Pep's reign, is the sort of growth of Raheem Sterling from a very sort of average player under Pellegrini to this unbelievable 30-goal a season player under Pep. Perhaps without looking, I think he's such a hard player to judge because it's very numbers based, I think, with Raheem, because on the eye he's perhaps not as interesting or exciting as De Bruyne or Mahrez, but he's efficient. I don't want to lose Sterling. I think he's still got a City future. I think the thing that maybe City have that other teams don't is just unbelievable competition for places, where it very much is a squad game at City, whereas maybe I think we've seen with Liverpool, certainly the front three, it's very much it's those three, and then when coming in isn't up to the standard, which maybe is what's cost them perhaps this season being a drop off from the previous two unbelievable seasons. But I think for City, there's always that competition, and if you don't, it's up to the player to respond and step up. I think we've seen it with Kyle Walker right back when Cancelo came in. Phil Foden's ousted Sterling from his position. Mahrez was fighting for his place at one point, got in the team. So it's up to the players, I think, and this is what it should be. It shouldn't just be there's the 11, and if someone comes in that's you gone, it should be, right, come on, fight for your place. And at City, I think certainly probably more than any other team, just for the amount of high quality players I think throughout the squad, it's just another player that's going to come in and challenge and improve. And I think that's how you stay at the top, and certainly how Pep has done that in the past.
I mean, I think the benefit to Kyle Walker's position as right back, which I do agree, he did fight for this season, is that Cancelo didn't cost that much compared to what Aston Villa are asking for Jack Grealish. So to you, Sam, Sterling or Grealish, who do you go with?
I think Grealish is a top 5 player in the Premier League. I really like him as a player. I love what he's about. I think Grealish is an absolutely fantastic player. I think a lot of people do think that he can play the number 8. Me personally, I think he can if it's under Pep or Klopp, but that would require a lot of training and for him to eventually become that type of player. So it really just depends what Pep wants to do. Because I think as a left winger, he'd be absolutely incredible for Man City. As a number 10, he could work as well. But as a number 8 midfielder, that's basically, playing that De Bruyne role possibly on the left instead of on the right. So you could have De Bruyne and Grealish in midfield. That would require Grealish to do a lot of defensive work that he is not used to doing in midfield. As we know as well, the midfield area is way more congested than the wing position. Obviously, there's 3-4 people attacking you at the same time. Pep likes to play possession football, pressing as well. So there are a lot of factors. But I think if there are 2 managers in our league right now who could get Grealish to be a number 8, I think it's Pep and Klopp. In terms of Grealish or Sterling, I feel like Grealish, in my opinion, is a level above Sterling. I think when it comes to Sterling, obviously, like his numbers do tell a story, but I just feel like in the big moments when the lights are shining on Man City and you expect Sterling to deliver, I just feel like in big games he doesn't really show up as much. Obviously, we've seen what happened against Lyon. Sorry to remind you, Luke, again, and against Chelsea as well in the Champions League final. Sterling perhaps doesn't have the best of games. So I think Grealish has more of a fighting leadership, like more intangibles as well than Sterling. And me personally, if I was Pep, I'd 100% start Grealish over Sterling. However, I do think Pep is looking to transform Grealish into Kevin De Bruyne on the left side, basically, like a left central midfielder. That's what I eventually think he's going to get him to play.
Agree with that, Coach?
Yeah. There's not much I can't disagree with in that one, actually. Grealish does have the ability to drive these teams down, especially on that left side. I think we saw a lot last season, especially early when him and Barkley still had like a little mini partnership and they were really enjoying. And the person that really thrived off that off the most was Ollie Watkins, because he was scoring goals at the beginning of the season for fun as well. So that's then begs the question: if they do sign him and they don't have the funds for Kane, look, I would say this. City, regardless, do have a good eye when it goes to buying players going forward. They've kind of had a sort of like a tried and tested sort of trial and error thing with defenders. They've bought fullbacks if it didn't work, bought another one. Bought goalkeeper if it didn't work, bought another one before they found a formula. But with forwards, it tends to just hit the mark every time with the forwards design. Even Gabriel Jesus, even if people are not convinced by him, when he first came, he hit the ground running. He was scoring goals for fun. So even if they weren't to get Kane and they got Grealish, I would trust City enough to be able to go and buy another striker for a lower fee. And even if they were someone that could hit 30 goals a season, you could expect them to at least hit 15 to 20 and be okay with that, because KDB will still score goals, Grealish will score goals, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I agree with that. I think if they do get Grealish to play that role, that just adds to the threat. If you've got two of those quality players coming from both sides, you're going to be in trouble regardless. So yeah, it would be a smart sign to go for Grealish no matter what.
I think there's a question from Marion in the comments. I think you could highlight. I think Luke's you gave your answer. You say Grealish. Sam?
Kane, definitely. City need a striker. Kane signing is going to if Kane signs or if Grealish signs. If Pep doesn't win the Champions League, he's a failure. End of discussion.
No,
I'm not happy. I've had enough. I've had enough. No. Allow all the excuses, man. I've had enough. Honestly, look, he was brought to Man City to win the Champions League, okay? Pellegrini and Mancini have both won the league titles. Grealish and Kane, whichever one of them signs, or whether it's both, City need to go out and win the Champions League title. End of discussion. No more excuses. No more Pep didn't play a DM. No more this guy's injured. No more excuses. I swear, City have the longest list of excuses to why they didn't win a Champions League yet. They literally need to win the Champions League if they sign any of them. But me personally, I think Kane is the guy.
Reasons.
What's up?
I don't think it's excuses. I think it is reasons, isn't it, that we haven't won the Champions League. Mostly has been Pep's. This random decisions in the biggest game to not play your best team. But yeah, I don't think he's a failure. Come on, he's won 3 Premier League titles. He's won a treble. He's won a.
Luke, when you first got Pep,
A treble.
I did say a treble.
Okay,
it's not.
Exactly. So you were expecting at least one. That's my point. Like at least just one Champions League title.
But
like if Pep leaves, like let's say this season he wins the Premier League, just the Premier League, and then he leaves City at the end of the season, will you look back at honestly speaking, would you look back on it and say Pep achieved everything he should have at City?
For me, yeah, because I think the levels he took the Premier League to and this City team to, it's the best City team I've ever seen, best team I've ever seen. That Centurion season, backing it up with the 98 points, winning a treble. For me,
my God.
The Champions League isn't the be all end all. It's not the be all end all.
You're proclaiming a Carabao Cup as a part of a treble. Like that's a
really
treble.
So it's not the treble.
That's why it's called an A treble.
It's a treble.
Yeah, we won a treble in 2001 when we won the Europa League, the Carabao Cup, and
we won the treble.
That was a treble. That was a treble. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's when City fans start claiming quadruples. That's when it gets into sticky water.
Yes, no. Community Shield is not a trophy. Allow.
We would have won a double a few seasons ago with a Community Shield. Exactly.
Well, yeah, I'm not. To be honest, I'm not big on the League Cup, so I'd throw that away. To be honest.
Fair enough. I kind of agree with Sam. I think I think failure is a bit excessive, but. He's been bought in there for the Champions League. He personally himself, he needs to.
That little feeling of regret, you think?
Of course.
Should have maybe just achieved more. I don't think it's a failure, but I see your point.
Yeah.
I think the thing is with me is honestly speaking, I feel like if we go to Pep himself and ask him, would you trade all 3 league titles for 1 Champions League? I think he'd say yes. honestly speaking, because getting the Champions League for Man City would be a massive accomplishment compared to the league titles. Like that's the thing, because they've never won it in their history, so that has more weight. Like I could argue, that Mancini's like first ever Premier League trophy for City probably holds more weight than any of Pep's league trophies. Like you could make that argument based on the fact that he won it for City after a really long time. Like he came in, won the league for them after a really long time. I feel like with Pep, there are literally quotes from the City owner saying we hired Pep to win the most prestigious competition in Europe. And I feel like the reason I said no excuses is the level of teams besides this year that Pep has went out to. I feel like no excuses, because they went out to Liverpool, not the strong Liverpool, the Liverpool who finished fourth. They went out to Monaco, they went out to Lyon, they went out to Spurs, which is an absolute travesty. So you see, like, my thing is, it's not like they're getting there and then losing to a Madrid, losing to a PSG, losing to a Barcelona. They're actually losing to clubs you'd expect City to beat. That's why I said you might think it's excessive. My opinion, he's failed so far. My opinion.
Well, most points ever in a Premier League season.
Yeah.
First ever domestic treble. Never been done before. Who's the guy who had the little comment up saying, "Oh, you won a triple"? No one else has ever done it, mate. So
he called it a trio.
Trio.
It's a trio. It's not quite a triple.
Who's he a fan
of? Marion's a Barca fan, actually.
The treble needs to include the Champions League. Besides that, it's not a treble in my opinion.
Didn't they win 6 or something in 1 year? So that's not.
Let's final question on this Kane and Grealish thing before we move on to your side, who's into Liverpool.
Do we have to?
Yes, of course. Kane and Grealish, where do they end up at the end of the season? Let's start with you, Kojo.
Where did they end up?
End of the transfer window, sorry.
I don't know if I can see Jack Grealish joining City. Not that City can't persuade him. It's rather him persuading himself to leave Villa. That's what it is. This is not a player that's been wanted for just this summer. This guy's been wanted for a long time. And whether they've been in the Premier League or been in the Championship, he's not left. He's someone that is very difficult to get because he is one of what people love these days, the really loyal footballers, the people that love their hometown club and really want to stay and do things at their club. And truth be told, the way they're moving in the transfer window so far, which has been good, they've bought very well. He might be excited at the prospect of playing with Leon Bailey and Buendia and having like a 4-2-3-1 formation, John McGinn behind him, where those three can supply Ollie Watkins and maybe another striker if they'll sign one. That could excite him. On the other hand, he could be excited by the idea of, I play with Kevin De Bruyne. I see Sterling a lot more, not just England. Mahrez is a great player. You got Diaz in the defense. You got Fernandinho, at this point a City legend and one of the top defensive midfielders we see in Premier League history. And it's the idea of you've gone from Villa, who are potentially building something, to go into City, who are already built, competing for things. So it's a thing, because you either go down as a guy that for a lot of people that in the football world is where you go to see at this point it's guaranteed trophy, just another part of the history, but are you a main part of the history? That's what the question will be. Or if you're a Villa and you build something special, you certify yourself as a Villa legend, and you will see as the main reason why they were able to achieve things. It's a tough one for him. So I see Kane going, because Kane is doing everything to leave. I think at some point Spurs will accept a deal where it's based on installments. So not just like incentives where City must win this before you pay this, or he gets a Ballon d'Or, so then you pay this. I think they're going to do a deal where they say, we'll pay you maybe 70 million. Yeah, you could do that. You could put a Champions League clause in.
Then we will never have to pay it.
There you go. I think they'll probably pay about 70 million up front and then maybe pay 40 million in installments year by year. And then throw in the extra. If we win Champions League, you get 10 million on top of that, just to make it 120, make it easy, make it safe for them. So I think that's what happens. I will be very surprised if both of them or one of them does not leave their clubs. One of them is definitely leaving. And if City can't pay the money for Kane, Kane will go somewhere else. I firmly believe that.
Where?
Probably, it'll be abroad. I think it'll be abroad. I don't think Man United have to.
Family, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're already hearing rumors. People say Man United, but the thing is, you're already hearing rumors that United are looking to make a bid for striker next season. So Kane and Haaland is not a viable option this season anyway. So that needs to be thrown out the window. And truth be told, if I'm Kane, I'm not even myself. I'm not even fully convinced like that by Man United. So I wouldn't expect Harry Kane to sit there and say, "I'm gonna run to Man United as well." It's not a Alexis Sanchez deal. That's not what's happening here. It's I need to win something, and it's not the position that Man United were in where they lost the title by goal difference, so they got Van Persie. It's not that situation. This is Man United are still trying to build something. It's about progress, and they went to a final and they lost, just like they've been to semi-finals and lost. He needs a guaranteed trophy at this point. So if he doesn't go City, I genuinely see him either going PSG, like Hussam said, or going to Spain somewhere. I know the fees are not there for Barcelona, so there's only one viable option. But Real Madrid, I think Real Madrid would be the only club that would push all boundaries and sell others to make sure they could get that one guy. They don't care. Barcelona are selling people to keep their one man already. They've already signed him to a new contract, and they're still going to sell people just for his sole purpose. They don't care about Kane. Yeah, well, yeah. So I'll say Madrid, PSG, or Man City.
Luke?
In terms of which one do I think will...
Yeah, I
would want Grealish, but I think Kane is the one there's more, he's forcing it, isn't he? So I feel Kane could be the one that does happen. I think maybe both of those, to be honest.
Hussam?
I think Kane goes to PSG. Grealish stays at Villa. I think City are going to hold out to buy Haaland next summer. That's my theory.
Okay. Very interesting. Let's now go to Liverpool. Obviously, the signings you're not signing that many players, but you are signing in key positions. There's obviously not back defense, but the defensive partner to Van Dijk in Konate from Leipzig. Are you happy with that signing? Is that something that impresses you? Is that something that was necessary?
Yeah, I'm 100% happy with Konate. 100%. Very good signing, very young as well. Pacey, physical, good for the Premier League. He's going to learn a lot by even just training with Van Dijk. So I think that's a very good signing.
And there was a comment from you yesterday, aside from the Arsenal stuff, where you were talking about Liverpool, where you were saying that if Saul Niguez was to come to partner Thiago, to partner Fabinho, that you guys were a shoo-in for the league title this season. Why do you think that? Why are you so confident in Saul being the missing piece?
I think with Saul, it just makes sense. It's like the most sensible transfer this entire window. He's in the price range of Liverpool Football Club. He's a high work rate player. He's available. Never had an injury in Atletico. Knock on wood. I don't jinx it when it comes to us, but no, never had an injury at Atletico. Very versatile. Literally can play centre back, left back, right back, CDM, CM, CAM. Could play false nine in certain games. So even like for Klopp's system, he would suit us perfectly. He would offer a lot more than what our midfielders offer, and I feel like with Saul, a midfield of Fabinho, Thiago, Saul is genuinely unstoppable. Honestly speaking, that would just be a crazy midfield. You'd obviously have Fabinho, the top three CDMs in world football. Saul and Thiago, obviously, as the two number 8s would be absolutely incredible. The reason I think with Saul we would challenge. Without Saul, we don't challenge. With Saul, we challenge is obviously the midfield options. Because losing Gini Wijnaldum, Henderson has picked up a lot of injuries recently. Naby literally has Weetabix legs, so I don't even count him. Oxlade-Chamberlain comes in, plays 2-3 good games, sells us dreams, and then is just injured again, probably dancing to Little Mix songs. So I'm done with those two. Matip, absolutely useless in terms of injuries. So because that's why Konate is a good signing. So with Saul, like, here's the thing: people think I'm joking. If we sell Oxlade-Chamberlain and Naby Keita and Baya Bissouma would play 3 times the games both of them would play combined. I was talking to a Liverpool fan tomorrow, and he said we can expect 5 to 10 games from Naby Keita this season. If you're expecting singular digit games from a football player, why is he at the club? Now, unfortunately, Klopp is not immune to criticism. Unlike Luke, I do criticize my manager, even though he gave me everything I wanted. I feel like with Klopp, his main problem is loyalty. He is loyal to these players. He wants to keep Keita. He wants to keep Oxlade-Chamberlain. He wants to keep Matip. So that's a problem with him as a person. So and I feel like with the midfield options, Saul availability is the best ability. He would be absolutely incredible. That would only leave the forward line needing improving. But even if we sign no one in the forward line, just Saul, I think we challenge for the league title, because I'm of the belief the only 2 teams in the league who could win 15 to 16 to 17 games in a row are Liverpool and City. I don't think any other teams are capable of doing that, whether it's the manager, whether it's the players, whether it's whatever. I think it's just these 2 teams who can, go on a really long winning streak to challenge for the league.
I do agree. I think Saul, Thiago, and Fabinho is a very good. That's probably maybe the best free centre mid options in the league if that was to happen. Is it a winning combination, though, Coach? That's something you, hand on heart, say you agree with?
No, this is where I feel I'm a bit worried, but not worried because I don't worry about Liverpool. But I think they have a jam-packed midfield, so that's a fair thing to say. Obviously, Henderson's captain. So the question of when Henderson's fit, I think he starts for Liverpool regardless. He's the leader of the squad and all that. Klopp, when he's able to, will rotate. Henderson will not start every game, but if Henderson is there, I would never drop Fabinho. I agree. I think Fabinho is maybe even not in top 3. I think top 2 defensive midfielders in the world. I still would put him and Busquets in that top 2. Casemiro has kind of not been as great as
Busquets.
I don't put Kante as a defensive midfielder. That's why. So that's why I wouldn't put him in there. I'll put him as a central midfielder. But yeah, I say, because Busquets will still maintain his class. It's just the other ones around him that are bums. Especially PK. PK is done for. But back to the point. I think Thiago would be the only one that's droppable because he didn't start off well at Liverpool and he didn't have a great Euros. He's a good player. He's a fantastic player. I know he sounds laughing. That's not me trying to put him down. The guy's a phenomenal footballer, but he's not had the best time at Liverpool. So I feel like if I looked into that in Liverpool midfield, yes, Henderson for me would be the person that I'd drop, but because he's captain, I just see him playing a lot more games. And if you said Sal or Thiago, I still think Thiago's a better player than Sal, but because he hasn't hit the ground running and he is someone that is quite injury prone as well, Thiago, I think Sal being available most of the time and being able to play a lot more games, I would just trust him a lot more to play next to Fabinho and maybe Henderson. So is it a winning midfield? Yeah, that's a tough midfield to compete against. I don't think many midfields are better than that midfield, if I'm being honest. I've always said as long as they have Salah and Mane, they always have a chance. And yes, they are getting their defenders back, but like I said yesterday as well, Van Dijk, first major injury, so let's see how he deals with it. Joe Gomez, second major injury, so let's see if he's now going to be the defender that gets a lot of niggling injuries or if he's going to get back into that. Konate himself, again, a top talent in defensive qualities, as Hosam pointed out, but he's someone that's also had a lot of injuries in his career, as has Matip as well. So that in itself causes a problem. And I'm sure they don't want to go back to, was it last season? Williams and
Phillips, right?
Phillips, that's the one. Who, to be fair, towards the end of the season, they did really well. I'm not going to be down on them, but when you got the other options available, you don't want to run to those 2. You want to run to the other guys. So, I just think they do that. But if that lineup, if everyone is fit, they have one of the strongest teams in that league comfortably, especially for first 11, because you have a whole lot of options. So that is a winning midfield, but let's see how they cope with the injuries next season. This is going to be a big year for rotation.
Big year for rotation. Luke, Obviously, the Van Dijk injury, we don't know how he's going to return if he comes back to being the Van Dijk that we knew. Obviously, the best defender in world football, in my opinion. I imagine Hussein's opinion as well.
Should be everyone's opinion.
I think it should be everyone's opinion, to be honest. But the Liverpool, for the past 4 years, barring last season, of course, they were your big rivals in terms of the title picture. Do you see Liverpool with the Van Dijk, with Mane's bad season, with Thiago's bad season, first season, but still a very bad season for an experienced midfielder like him, even with a Saul, do you fear this Liverpool side?
No. Not with that midfield. That midfield is no chance. No chance for that midfield. Thiago useless last season. Fabinho, great player. Saul, I think he's all right, but not with that midfield. That's not. Chelsea and City got better midfield than that. That's
Hussam is triggered. He's triggered. He's triggered. What right now?
Nah, Luke is just, small club mentality. This is just what they do,
Winning club mentality. 3 Premier League titles.
How many Champions League does your winning club have?
Oh no!
You get the job done on a consistent basis.
Put them on the table, please. How many league titles?
That sounds like Graham Souness. Oh my
How
god!
many titles? Bro, the thing is with Thiago, I feel like people just exaggerate the fuck out of this Thiago thing. Thiago just got injured when he was playing our best midfielder, so he didn't have a bad season. He was just out injured because that prick Richarlison two-footed him in his leg. But besides that, Thiago every time he's been fit has been playing and has been always selected, except when Klopp had a brain fart away at Madrid. That's the only game he did not play. Besides that, he's played every single time he was available, and I think he's still a world-class midfielder. Like just 12 months ago, he was in the world 11. So it's not like he's suddenly a shit player, but it's just with the injuries, the same problem: injuries. But when he's fit, he gets into every single midfield in world football. And if we were talking about this 12 months ago, you would all agree. So just because he put a Liverpool shirt on, suddenly you guys like, Thiago had a bad season. He did not. Besides the injuries, every single time he's actually played, he played really well.
Okay, no.
Who would you say has been our best midfielder this season?
Last season. It's quite hard to pick, isn't it? They're all quite rubbish.
No, but look,
this is the silence I talk about.
Listen, no, hear this though. But I don't think, even if he was, you want to call him maybe the best performer in that midfield.
Yeah.
The argument could be, for example, Fabinho had to play centre back quite a lot. Obviously, when he came back in, he did his thing, no problem. Obviously, over the course of a season, he played maybe 1/3 of it in his normal position, so you can't call that best performing midfielder. But I don't feel like anyone that played in that midfield consistently in that year had a good year. That's just my opinion. So,
but who was the best one out of them? That's my thing.
Thiago, that's fine.
Thiago, yeah. Every single time he was on the pitch, he was our best midfielder. So he did not have a bad season.
But was he the best? Was he the best of a bad bunch, or was he the best because he was good?
No, he was the best because he was good. He was actually the best midfielder, like hands down. Because the others, honestly, Henderson was injured the entire time. Oxen Keita, I prefer not to speak. Curtis Jones, I prefer not to speak. With Fabinho, obviously he played at the centre back position. Every single time he actually played for us, he was the best midfielder on the pitch, like hands down. Like there was no discussion about it whatsoever. So he did not have a bad season. He was just injured. That's the problem. Pre-injury, remember, man of the match away at Stamford Bridge in 45 minutes and stuff. So he was, as soon as he started getting into the groove of things, affecting play, the injury happened. So it's just unfortunate circumstances. But every time he's been on the pitch, he's performed. That's why I say he is hands down the best midfielder at the club right now.
I would just like to say that Arsenal's midfield three is the best midfield three in English football. But that is, I think we'll end it on that now. We'll end it on that note. No, I'm joking. Obviously we are far off, but it is what it is. But I think we should end. I think it's been, almost an hour now. So let's get to the end. So thank you guys for joining us. Luke, where can they find you?
I can find me at HPK Luke on YouTube and HPK23 on Instagram. Pleasure to have me on, guys. Enjoyed it. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Hussam, how you?
Yes, every time I look at you, you rattle me. That's what it is. Yesterday was it's completely. Where can they find you, sir?
My YouTube channel is called This Is Football, general football channel for all football fans. Actually, I have a stream in 50 minutes from now. We're going to be talking about Lukaku and Chelsea. So it's a channel for all football fans. It's called This Is Football. Please do subscribe and come watch the stream. Just come head to the stream. My Twitter is at DonHussam6. That's my Twitter. I do run a lot of Twitter spaces, so you'll see me engaging with all fans. I run serious Liverpool spaces as well with a few journalists. Sometimes we do them with a few ITKs as well. So there's a lot going on right now. So please continue supporting. Currently at 715 subscribers, so slowly getting to that 1K mark. So please go and subscribe to the channel and support us. And thank you so much to both of you guys. I know Cahill is a little bit rattled from yesterday, unfortunately. Usman did you dirty by clipping it up and posting it on Twitter, but that's not my fault. I did not ask for that, so he did it. But thank you so much to both of you. It's been a pleasure coming on your channel for the first time. Brilliant working with Luke as well. So thank you so much. And it's been a fantastic stream.
Coach, where can they find us?
Quickly, before I do that, can I just say that I put in the agenda Christian Romero, and then Hussam said they signed Gil Romero. No one cares about that, and that's all Romero got. That's a bit mad. But that's a good signing. But regardless, we can discuss that another day. We'll get some Spurs fans for that one. But yes, you can find us on YouTube right here on YouTube, Free Me for Podcast. We're on 100 and something subscribers, so try and get us up to that 200 now as well. I think 173, so we're getting there. Get us up to that 200. Hopefully, we can get some more great guests for you guys, like these two wonderful guys here. Subscribe to their channels as well, especially Never a Foul as well for Luke. Feed the Goat is his Man City show, and this is football 15 minutes, like he said. He's going to be on talking about Lukaku and Chelsea, so I'm going to be there watching that as well.
That shouldn't I really? Yeah, Feed the Goat on Never a Foul.
There you go. You gotta plug your thing, You gotta plug your thing. So big up Daps, Tyrone, and everybody else in that chat and from Never a Foul as well. And yes, so Free Midfield Podcast on YouTube, and Free Midfield for Twitter, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcasts. There you go.
Ever the professional coach culture. This has been another episode of the Free Midfield Podcast. Good night.